When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Flashenberg. Welcome to Yoga, Birth, Babies, a podcast produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. We will be diving into everything prenatal yoga, birth, and baby related, hoping to inspire, educate, and empower you through your journey into motherhood. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg. I'm the host of Yoga Birth Babies, and today we have a birth story. So you may notice that we have increased the amount of birth stories that we're doing on Yoga Birth Babies, mainly because that is what I've heard people want to hear. So we used to drop just one birth story a month, and now we're doing 2. You told me you wanted it. I want to deliver. And the great thing is we have so many students that after they have their baby, they want to share their experience. And so that's what happened. So we have Hayley Antonelli. She reached out after she had her baby. She did our teacher training with us, and she said she wanted to share her experience. And I'm so glad she did, because her experience was really beautiful. She took the time to think about who she wanted at her birth. She took the time to really think about what she needed to feel safe. And then she created this team that really bolstered her confidence. That when she had decisions to make, they offered it to her in a way that she understood, in a way that they gave her time to listen to her gut and her instincts. And overall, they gave her time. And I think you'll notice as she tells her story, that is so important. And it's really incredible that when someone is given agency, even if it's slightly different than maybe how you envisioned, when you have your voice in the story, it really can create a positive impact. I'm so excited for you to hear the story. But let me tell you a little bit about Hayley. So Hayley Antonelli is 25. She's from Washington, D.C., and she's a yoga teacher, painter, and Vedic astrology apprentice here in New York City. And she's been practicing yoga for 10 years. She did our teacher training, and she subbed a few times at PYC, and she's just really a wonderful, amazing person. And I'm really excited for you to hear her story. Now, before we get to Hayley's birth, I always love to give some updates about what's happening at Prenatal Yoga Center. So the best way to keep up on our classes, our in-studio, on-demand, online classes, and our workshops, and even our teacher training is to check out our website, prenatalyogacenter.com. We have so much on our website. I have been doing a blog for 18, 19 years. There's a lot of entries there. The podcast is 9 or 10 years old. I don't even know. Over 400 episodes there. So there's such vast resources for you, as well as checking out the latest events and classes. So make sure you go to prenatalyogacenter.com for that. Also, I want to, as always, thank the community, not just for listening, but for helping this podcast have the topics and guests that it does. I love when people reach out to me with either a guest recommendation or a topic that I've either covered or they want to hear again or a different perspective. So if you have a guest you want to recommend or a topic I haven't covered, reach out to me directly, deb@prenatalyogacenter.com. I want to hear from you. I also want to thank those who have left a rating and review. I know it may sound kind of silly, but it really does help people find the podcast. So if you haven't done that yet, please take a moment, leave a rating and review. All right, that is enough of me. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, please enjoy Hayley's birth story.
Introducing Shark Facial Pro Glow, a first-of-its-kind at-home facial. Pro-level extraction removes impurities, and dual-temperature technology boosts radiance and deep puffs with both Insta-Heat and Insta-Chill technology. Treat yourself to a hydro-fueled glow in minutes. And because Shark Facial Pro Glow fits in the palm of your hand, you can get that luminous post-spa glow anywhere. Visit sharkbeauty.com to learn more.
Hi, Hayley. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm really excited to chat with you because I love reconnecting with students, but especially those that went through the teacher training. So I feel like we go through this kind of deep process together. So thank you for sharing your birth story.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I went into this knowing nothing, and I feel like I got the most out of it. So,
I'm so excited. So let's start with just sharing a little bit about yourself.
Wonderful. Well, I am 25. I live in Manhattan. I'm a painter, a Deutsch astrology consultant, and an artist or painter and a yoga teacher. And I've been teaching about 3 years at a nice little family-run studio in Gramercy. And I had a baby this summer.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to hear all about that. I don't think I knew. I mean, age is so, open because people are more mature, less mature. It doesn't matter necessarily the age. But when you were in our teacher training, I had no idea you were in your early 20s. You really carry yourself with a lot of poise and maturity.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to speak. So let's talk a little bit about, so you trained, I would say, by doing a lot of prenatal yoga for birth. Will you talk a little bit more about that? Like how specifically the yoga practice and the sequences supported you in prep and in labor?
For sure. My whole life, I would say, too, I've been very tuned in and connected with my body. My parents have, grew up doing yoga, so I kind of learned that too from them. And I knew that not only as a teacher, but as a, yoga practitioner, my body was going to be changing. And I wasn't really apprehensive. I was super excited. In fact, I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing. But I wanted to learn, especially the safe ways of approaching pregnancy and labor. And so really focusing in on the changes in the body and how to best support them and give myself the best kind of groundwork and foundation for having a joyful and exciting birth was really my approach and what I wanted to get out of the teacher training and my yoga practice through pregnancy.
So when you went into the training, were you already pregnant? I cannot remember that.
I was like 3 or 4 weeks pregnant.
When did you share it with? So you signed up before you were pregnant.
We were trying, yeah. And I know Hannah, one of your students, and she did some teaching at Prenatal, and I loved her. And I just got this vibe from her. I was like, I would walk off a cliff after you. And so when she told me that she was doing this prenatal yoga training, I was like, oh, that's cool. That sounds like fun. And then when I got pregnant or was trying, I was like, this might be an exciting road to go down. And then I know she had done that with you. And so you send out these emails like, don't sign up for the prenatal training if ... Right. I was like all of those things. I knew nothing going into it. I just trusted Hannah and wanted to experience something new and set myself up. And it was amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad. So let's talk a little bit about your team, like the birth team, because I know that you were very intentional with it. Will you talk a little bit about why that was important to you and how you set it up and how it shaped your experience?
For sure. I definitely wanted to feel like the people in the room were on my side, knew who I was and what I wanted out of it. And I think, I don't know, in this world, right, in the times that we live in, we have very short interactions with our doctors, no interactions or negative experiences just in general from not feeling heard or seen or spoken to in the way that we had wished. And so for this, I really wanted to go through all of the options so that I knew that the choice I made was the right one for me. And that was one of the best things I got out of the teacher training was I didn't even know what my options were before I learned about them from you. And going through, especially the resources page you had on your website, is where I pretty much found everybody on my team.
Oh, wow. All right, so tell me we're kind of naming names, but so when you were, let me back it up. So when you were looking, what were some of the things that you wanted or you needed the care provider to kind of echo back to you? Like, how did you create your list? What was important on your kind of mental list of they check these boxes? You think they'd be, great support for you. Can you kind of explain your thinking?
I kind of just looked down every avenue because like I said, I didn't really know what I wanted, but I intuitively through calling up different midwives, different, doctor's offices, etc. I could quickly find what felt right and what didn't necessarily feel right just off the connections I was making with people. And I knew I wanted to have something more midwife, like low risk, as far as the attention I was receiving. Because I am so young and I was just having, a singleton. So I didn't see the need to have to equip myself with doctors. And so I called some home birth midwives, and some other midwifery practices in the city, but they're few and far between. And so after I would say 3, 4, 5 calls, it was very clear to me what felt the most natural for my style and the connections I made with the providers.
So who did you end up with?
I ended up with Central Park Midwifery.
Oh, they're so lovely. They're closing.
They are so
Did you
lovely.
Hear that?
I know. That's why I say it with
I know. It's I have the same thing. My hand goes to my heart. I'm like, oh, Central Park Midwifery.
They were amazing. Oh, so it's really, really hard to see them close their practice.
So who else did you organize onto your team?
So I spoke with the best Ellen. She didn't really give me a choice, I'll be honest.
Oh, did you have Taylor? Was Taylor your doula?
She was like, so call Taylor. And I was like, okay, I'll call Taylor. And so I called Taylor and we basically just chatted on the phone for an hour and a half. And it was love at first chat.
Taylor's a very special doula. She was on the podcast. She went through our teacher training. She's actually coming back onto the podcast in a couple weeks.
So good.
Because she's really one of the top that I trust. I really do trust her wisdom and her knowledge. So I'm so glad that you had her. And then you had your doula, you had your midwives. Was there anyone else? Did you start to organize for postpartum support or what else did you do for your team?
I very luckily had a postpartum doula in my apartment building.
Oh my gosh.
One of the blessings of New York, right? And she saw that I was pregnant and was like, hey, I'm a postpartum doula. And I was like, that's awesome. So that was really easy for me to just make that connection. But I also, from your list of resources, went to the Femme First pelvic floor PT.
Oh, great.
And did that. And I also have my own Chinese doctor doing acupuncture and herbal medicine. So I was doing all of the things.
And so how do you think having this team that you did put a lot of thought and research into, how do you think that shaped your experience?
I felt so seen, so safe. I had the best time. And I think that really comes with knowing that you're around people who get you, who understand you, who know what you want. And even if, as a first-time mom, you don't know what you're going to want in labor. So to have a team of people that I trust their experience, and I trust that they know me enough to share with me what they think is best for me was really, really important and really exactly what I got out of it.
Oh, I love hearing that. So let's start to dip a little bit into some probably reactions and decisions. So especially knowing that you were with a midwifery practice, I know that your baby was measuring small. So before we get into the story, like the actual birth story, I know that you were facing an induction that was recommended. Talk a little bit about that. Like, what was your reaction? Because you're a small person. It's not like,
and my husband's small too.
So what was your reaction to that?
Well, my mom, she really struggled with her pregnancies. My brother was super, super premature. And I was also early. I mean, comparative to him, I was, ready to go. But and it was another reason why being in the hospital was important to me, because I completely understand and respect when medical interventions are going to save your baby's life or save your life. And I think that's important. But for me, it didn't feel like that necessarily. Like, I was listening to the data and the things that everyone was saying, and it just felt like I'm a small person, my husband's a small person, and our baby is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so after talking with the midwives, because we would do our scans at the hospital clinic,
mm-hmm.
And then we would go back to the office and chat with the midwives about it. And so just in those chats, kind of outside of that environment, they totally supported me, being like, okay, so this is what the doctors are seeing, what we're seeing. We're relaying that information to you. How does it make you feel? Like, always starting with that, like, how are you going through this? And it's scary. Like, anytime you hear like a but, or, come back, sooner than anticipated, your heart drops.
Mm-hmm.
It really, it's super heavy. And so just sitting back and hearing all of the information and then sleeping on it, processing it, talking with my partner about it, it is really important to take your time with processing that information and making the decision that's right for you.
All right, so I guess that's going to lead us into the birth story so we can find out, were you induced or not? Let's find out. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, just let it all unfold. I want to hear it all. All right, we'll be right back.
You've been asking Abercrombie Kids for baby and toddler clothes, and they finally delivered. Introduce your little one to a collection full of mini looks with major cuteness. From rompers and bodysuits to cute dresses and matching sets, all in sizes newborn to 5T. Meet the newest member of the Abercrombie Kids family for the smallest members of yours. Shop new baby and toddler in the app and online.
I have created the most advanced AI soldier.
The wait is over. Tron Ares now streaming on Disney+.
We are looking for something you've discovered. And some of us will stop at nothing to get it.
Ready?
The countdown is complete.
There's no going back.
Our directive is clear.
Hang on!
Tron Ares now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
Okay, we're back. So, dun, 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 dun. Were you induced? What happened? The story is yours.
So, no, I was not induced. I decided to just kind of do it week by week, day by day, and see how baby was doing. And so it was about at 30, I would say 5 weeks. Her head specifically was measuring like below, I think it was like the 5th percentile. And so they were recommending a 38, 39 week induction. And they said, we'll continue to monitor the Dopplers and, heartbeat, all of these things that they look at, the size, and see if she stays on track with kind of how much they're supposed to grow in that time. So I was going in every week, twice a week, doing the heart monitor, all of the things. And yeah, I just kind of took it week by week. And then as we were getting closer, right, I think I was 36 weeks, 37 weeks, I was going into my midwives every week. And we were talking about it. And I said, I'm not ready to schedule the induction now. I hear that it's something that is being offered. I understand why, but I want to give my baby at least a little more time since she's safe and she's doing well. Sans being small, I want to give her the time to come when she's ready. And as someone who studies and practices Joytish astrology, the moment in which someone's born is really important and really meaningful. And one of my mantras going into this was, my baby will come at the perfect time, and the perfect time for her. So doing the induction didn't feel like something that I wanted to do. So I'm going to it was my 37-week visit with the midwife after doing the scans. And we basically sit down. She reiterates what the doctors are saying. I say, okay, I hear you. I'm feeling some contractions. Granted, it's July, so dehydration is real, and this can really amplify how you're experiencing contractions just because it was so bloody hot this summer.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had to get out of a taxi because it didn't have air conditioning and call an Uber. I was such a drama queen. But basically I said, okay, let's do a cervical exam and tell me what you see. And if you think I'm nowhere near having this baby, I was 37 weeks, so baby could come. I was like, if you think I'm nowhere ready, then I'll more strongly consider having an induction maybe next week. And so we do the cervical check, and she was, I think, at -1 or -2 station.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, listen, your baby's dropping. And I said, okay, cool. This is a good sign, right? Baby knows that out is, down is the way out. So I went home that night, and it was one of the things too that I had talked to Taylor about as things we could do instead of an induction that could help baby maybe want to come out. And one of those is the cervical check. I don't think we did a membrane sweep, but it was definitely one of those, as an option. And she got the message. Basically, I went home that night and contractions started to get more regular. I started to time them, and I slept through that night. Actually called my mom before, and I was like, listen, I'm feeling contractions. Maybe you come hang out with me this week since my husband had to go to work, and we'll just hang out at the apartment and chill. And so she was already planning on coming the next day. And so I just kind of slept through the night, woke up, took it easy. She was on her way. And as the day went on, contractions got more regular, more intense. And by dinner time, I was starting to not be able to sit through contractions. I was trying to eat dinner, and I couldn't sit and have dinner. So I called my midwife, I called Taylor, and I said, I can't sit through dinner. I'm that uncomfortable. And Taylor was like, this is great. I'm so excited, and the midwife was too. And so my midwife said, listen, go for a walk and then go home, take a shower, chill, and try to get in bed. And so I went to Whole Foods. I bought 3 boxes of cookies. And then you can kind of tell too, how far apart contractions were. Because by the time I got to Whole Foods, I had a contraction when I left and a contraction when I got there. And I was like, okay, that was about 5 minutes. That was, 3 blocks. And then I got home, ate my cookies, got a shower, got snuggled in. And the second I lay down in bed, I was like, nope, that's not happening. I basically couldn't lay flat the entire time I was laboring. It was just different. So I got back up. I called Taylor. I said, listen, I tried laying down through contractions, but I'm really uncomfortable. And so she said, that's fine. Get up. Here are some things you can do if you want to meet your baby tonight. And so she gave me some some yoga suggestions and some things I could do. And so I called my midwife. I said, I'm going to try these things as they were suggested. And, what do you think? And she said, you know what your experience is, you know what you're feeling. I'm this far away from the hospital, so just call me when you call your doula so that I have time to get to the hospital or whatever you choose. So yeah, so I try to do these things that Taylor suggested, and they worked. The contractions got, closer and closer, and the intensity of them, surprisingly for me, it didn't like get more intense. I feel like when you're in your home, you're in your bubble, you feel so safe. You're so in your spot that this like trance like state that you can get into is so much easier than in the hospital. And so I was having, by the time I think Taylor got to us at 3 a.m., I was having like 2-3 minute apart contractions super joyfully. I mean, they were intense. I, was letting the sounds out and had my hands up over my head, but I was just kind of like swaying and just enjoying the ride. And then Taylor was like, "You're making some sounds that make me feel like we should call your midwife." And this is why I was so grateful to have Taylor, because I wouldn't know what those sounds were, or, it's from her experience, her expertise. And so I said, yeah, great, call her. And so we call the midwife, and she's like, all right, I'll meet you at the hospital. Let's head over. And we got to the hospital around 5 a.m. I'm so grateful that this happened and like babies want to come at night, because I could not imagine trying to get to the hospital in rush hour. Like being able to just like fly down like the avenues and like get across town in 3 minutes was a gift. And so by the time we get to the hospital, the contractions, they started to slow down. And I had expected that just because I'm in a different environment, the lights, the moving around, the people you don't know. And your body really it's just instinctive. It's like, am I safe? Am I safe? I don't know. And so I just tried to breathe and continue swaying. They tried to get me to lie down for the cervical exam once we got there, and I could barely lie down for more than just the time between the contractions. I wanted to be up. I wanted to be standing. And because she was measuring small, I had to wear the little heart monitor on me pretty much the whole time. And it kept sliding around. Those things are really annoying. But then by the time I made it through triage and I was in my room, yes, the baby was descended, but I hadn't, my cervix hadn't opened as well as ideally. And my water had never broken. So I just and I'm so grateful for my midwife. She just was like, listen, I'm going to step out. I'm going to give you some time, you, Taylor, your partner, and you guys just settle down, because I really don't like needles. I don't like, all of these things that happen when you come to a hospital. And when you get admitted, they're poking you, they're telling you to stay still. And it really got me out of my flow. And so I spent probably around an hour, 2 hours trying to just get back into my rhythm. But she was so low, I couldn't stop peeing. So I couldn't lay down. I was just like, I need to pee. I need to pee. And I just was looking at the little heart monitor and looking at the numbers, right? And they're like, if it is above this number, your baby's okay. And when it would drop, people would start coming into the room. And I noticed too, if I lifted my leg up and I was doing kind of like a lunge and my leg got too close to the heart monitor, it would start picking up my heart rate. And then doctors would start to freak out, right? Because there's a bunch of people looking at that data, not just your midwife or your provider. And so I was trying to find postures that it wasn't taking like that main artery through my leg. And so I was basically just standing, rocking side to side, maybe arms on the bed, some on the yoga ball, but with my leg extended out to the side. So it kind of kept that leg away from the heart monitor. And I didn't realize this, but hours went by because I was just focused on the numbers. I was just watching the numbers go up and down and not knowing if she was okay, if she was really stressed, or if it was just my leg. And after a while, I would say probably around 4 hours of doing that, and honestly, it felt like 30 minutes. Then my midwife came in and she said, okay, it's been this amount of time. We could do some things to speed this up because I don't want you to feel like, your labor stalling. And I think contractions were about 7 minutes apart at this point. And so she said, I could break your bag of waters. And I knew that if we were to do this, I wouldn't be able to get into that trance state that I had been in at the apartment because I knew it just happened too fast, right? Like the body wouldn't have time to respond in the same way as it would if it were gradual and at its own pace. And so I really was scared to make that decision because, of course, all of the things that come up with the interventions, I knew we go through it in class. You do one thing and it's a cascade of things. And so making that decision was the biggest overcoming I feel like I had to do during my labor. It was like knowing that my midwife has my back, my doula has my back, and this might be what was best for me in the situation. And so I basically told them, I was like, okay, my partner didn't want me to make any decisions that were coming out of like exhaustion. Because at the point now it was, I think like 10 a.m. And so he was like, why don't you try to lie down, get a little sleep, rest, just like regroup your thoughts and then come from that and make your decision. And I really appreciated having that little bit of space. And then I lay down and immediately I was like, I can't lay down. Like, I can't do this. And I tried to lay down and I was just like, it's not happening. And so I talked to Taylor about it and I asked for her experience and kind of what she would think in the situation. And it helped me kind of feel brave enough to say, okay, let's do this. But I was like, do it before I can like change my mind. I was like, let's break this bag of waters and let's get this baby out. Cause I couldn't sit still and I didn't know what else to do. And so my midwife comes in, she's ready. And the bag of waters, I mean, some babies, right, they're born in their sack of waters. But for some reason, mine was just really, really tough. And so it took her a moment to even be able to break it. But the moment it broke, the contractions picked up 2 minutes just like that, like right away. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for an epidural. This was great. I'm feeling all of the things, but yeah, this is my body or my brain, like the chemistry there, it's not picking up. And so unfortunately, they didn't take my blood work to the lab when I got into the hospital. And that was a super bummer because I had to get my blood taken again, which I don't like needles, and then wait about 35 minutes for them to send the blood to the lab and then clear the epidural. So I was in the bathroom of the of the little labor and delivery room with Taylor, my partner. And Taylor looks at me and she's like, Hayley, what's your happy place? What's your happy place? And I'm a Buddhist and my happy place is with my teacher, and looking into my teacher's eyes. And she said, Hayley, what would your teacher say? And I said, he would say something about fearless joy and and I was like, fearless joy. Like, I can be fearless and super happy, even, in this state. Right. And just, I loved how she encouraged me to bring back my mind to my goal, to my view, and to my happy place. And so from then, the time just kind of, it was by contraction, just breathing through it, working through it. She brought one of those little combs. I was squeezing onto the comb. They're amazing. And anesthesia was waiting outside my door, just waiting for the green light. And when they got the green light, they came in. He was awesome. He lifted up the bed, gave me the epidural, and it was bliss. It was so what I needed. And then I was able to rest and just process that last, 5-6 hours. And my midwife came back in a few minutes later, and she was like, okay, how are you feeling? I was like, this is amazing. I feel good. And she was like, I'm going to give you like another 20 minutes just to rest, and I'll come back in and do another cervical check and see kind of where we're at. And I said, that's great. My partner went down to get a croissant and a coffee, and then I passed out. And then I wake up 20 minutes later. Everyone, is back around. We've regrouped. He's pulled out his laptop. He's doing work. And another reason why I'm so grateful I had Taylor. And then my midwife does the cervical exam, and I'm like ready to push this baby out. And I was so excited that like she was so close. I was like, oh my gosh, like that is amazing. Like there was labor. Now I'm blissed out and I'm like, going to push my baby out. This is amazing. And within 20 minutes, I think it was like four pushes. She was here, and my partner was like trying to like eat his croissant and close his laptop and like get his camera out. He's a photographer. And so it was just like, it was so funny. And I felt like because of the epidural, I could laugh and enjoy it and not be like worried or overwhelmed. And it was just such the right call for me, especially, because we had to break the water. And yeah, so pushing her out was amazing. Taylor got the whole thing on video. I was just like, this is so cool. I can't believe this. Like, I was elated. And then they pass you your little baby. And then Taylor is just, can't say enough things. She helped her latch on right away, just like in my arms. And they knew kind of too, we've talked about this, right? Like your birth plan, how I wanted that golden hour to be. Like I didn't want people fussing with her, fussing with me. I was just like, do what you need to, but no more than that. We can do whatever later. Like this is our time. And so just getting her latched and happy it was just so exciting. And then the room got quiet, and then my midwife, she showed me my placenta. It was so cool. She gave me like a tour of the placenta, and she was like, you grew this organ. And it was amazing. It was so amazing. And I was just so grateful to like feel like my team heard me. I trusted in my team and they deserved that trust, like they really had my back. And it was so scary making calls like, do I have an induction or not? Do I break my bag of waters? If not, it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't know what's going to happen. And so you really just have to completely like this radical acceptance, be like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure I'm okay with what this is or what's going to happen, but I have to make a decision that feels right for me out of the situation that's in front of me.
I love how your team gave you space. And that sounds like that was so paramount to you. It was picking your team in a really mindful, conscious way. And then with the team that you had, they didn't push you. I love that some situations might have been, you have to induce. This is what the data says, you have to induce. And I love that they said, you can have a little time. And then when it was time to break your water, you can have a little time. And I find that, and you've heard me talk about this in class, when you're part of the decision making, even if it's what the care provider want, but when you're signed on, it's so much more empowering.
Totally.
So I'm just so thrilled that you had a team that gave you that space to come to the conclusions, because if you felt pressured and then it was maybe a challenging experience, you'd be like, well, this isn't really what I wanted. And then second guess yourself and kind of go down, a rabbit hole. But I'm just so happy that your team really showed up. And that's what I hope, all maternity support is, giving you the options and explaining it, and then giving the person actually having the baby the chance to think it through. That's a beautiful story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was like my dream birth. I really wouldn't have changed anything. I was just so grateful to have these people around me, and for her entrance into the world to be so happy. And I really it's because of your resources, your program,
thank you.
that I was even able to piece together this. I before knew nothing.
Oh, I'm so honored to have just been a tiny piece of your story. So thank you for that. I want to hear a little bit about your postpartum. So I know that the recovery and breastfeeding actually were relatively smooth. What do you think contributed to that, and how is it now?
Yeah. I think being young is a gift. It makes things so much easier. I have more energy. My body was able to recover faster. But also, before having the baby, really gave my partner a hard time about what life was going to be like. I remember there was actually a podcast you did with Elaine from CPM, and she's walking through kind of postpartum, how to set up your world before baby comes. And one of it is what is sleep going to look like? So I listened to this podcast with him, and I talked to him about it. And I was like, listen, baby's going to go on your side of the bed. You're going to be doing night stuff with baby, and I'm going to be sleeping.
Yay. I love that.
And I made it sound really intense. He's a war kid, he loves a battle. But I was like, listen, you're going to have to be waking up every hour on the hour. It's going to be brutal, and you're going to figure it out. You've got this. I'll give you milk. Milk's right there. I had it all laid out for him. And once we had her, and that kind of over exaggeration of how intense it could be wasn't the case, he was like, oh, I've got this. He was like, Hayley, this is nothing. Wake up 4 times in the middle of the night. All right. And it was wonderful. I was actually able to rest. And that is so, so essential for the postpartum body, to have that time for the body to just heal itself in this, in sleep. It did amazing things. Even just, 2 weeks later, I was not sleep deprived. I didn't have those bags under my eyes, and then it also made spending time with her throughout the day so much more joyful. And I didn't feel like I couldn't show up for her 100% because I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really made such a difference. And then, in New York City, right? Whatever you want, you can just have delivered to your apartment in 15 minutes. And so I was having my friends come with, pastries and, all the things that I, wanted. It was just it was so nice to be able to, I understand some people don't necessarily want to invite, others into their apartment and their lives right after baby was born. But I wanted to share her. I was like, come, let's be together. This is my baby. Bring me pastries. And it was so nice to have that and, enjoy the sunshine from inside the air conditioning.
So let's talk a little bit about positive birth stories, because I know that's something that you intentionally focused on. Mm-hmm. What was the thought behind that?
It's like when you study for a test, right? Like you read the books that are going to be on the exam. And I wanted the exam to be like a natural birth. And so I was like, I'm going to study those books. So I wanted to listen to the podcasts, to the stories, to my friends' experiences that had the outcomes that were rewarding, that were empowering, right? I wanted to understand how they arrived at that outcome. Because, when you hear all of these frightening things, then one thing comes up into your labor and you start to spiral. You're just like, but then this happened and this happened and this happened. And then it's so overwhelming. And it's good, don't get me wrong, to know what the outcomes are and what's, and how it, things can escalate or navigate down different paths. But when you hear so many positive birth stories, for a moment, you believe to yourself, like, I can do this. And I remember it was something that Taylor said to me. We were sitting on my couch and I was like, this is the birth that I want. And she looked at me and she like grabbed my hands and she was like, you can do this. And it was like, no BS. She honest to God meant to me, like, your body can do this. And I needed someone with that confidence, right? Like I was like, you're right, I can. And then hearing from others exactly how they arrived there, it makes the whole difference.
So how do you feel knowing that your story will be part of that legacy, that someone out there, after this gets edited and produced, will be out there for someone pregnant to listen and be like, I can do this. Hayley did this. I heard her story. I can do this. What's that like?
No, it's so exciting. I'm just glad I can share because I feel like I've taken so much from this community. I like took the doula, took the midwife, right? Like I've taken so much from you. I'm just so grateful that I can give back, all of this goodness that I've received. And I hope that, that goodness goes as far as it went for me.
Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, we're going to take another break. When we come back, what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents? We will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Break through the busiest time of year with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. With real-time guidance and endless ways to move, you can personalize your workouts and train with confidence, helping you reach your goals in less time. Let yourself run, lift, sculpt, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
We are back. So, what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents?
Oh, I would say trust your instincts. Even if you have to sleep on it or you don't know right away, like instinct doesn't come up like that, at least not for me. Sometimes I have to like chew on it and savor it and really, sit with how I'm feeling before I understand what it is that I'm feeling. And if you give yourself that space, you give yourself that, that time to nurture what's happening. Oh, you're going to feel so much better about the path that you take, the decisions you make. And yeah, I would say really like with picking a provider, if you go to someone and it's just not feeling right, like that's okay. Shop around, call some other people up, talk to your partner about it, see how they felt, from every stage of right when we got pregnant to after we had our baby. And it was really just a long discussion of like, does this feel honest to who we are and yeah, just being honest about, what feels right for you.
I bet you were doing that as a parent, because I know that I still rely on that. I have to sit with my values, my thoughts, my instincts. I have to also sit with what's my immediate reaction, because it may not always be the best choice. So that is great advice. I like that. Trust your instincts. And I also love what you said, like, take the pause if you need to find out what your instincts are, as opposed to just that like immediate, like immediate go. So that was beautiful. Are you teaching again?
I am.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I teach at Center Yoga. It's in Gramercy. I teach the morning class there. And then I've also picked up from Hannah. She had started this prenatal class at Center Yoga, so that we have a prenatal class Friday mornings. And then I teach the morning class throughout the week there.
Oh, every morning?
Tuesday through Thursday is like a regular class, regular Hatha yoga class, and then Friday I do the prenatal.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Hayley, I loved reconnecting. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for inspiring others, and for just being open and vulnerable with your story.
This has been an episode of Yoga Birth Babies, produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. I'm Deb Flaschenberg. Thanks for listening.